Something that drove me crazy when I was pregnant was that every time I would tell somebody that I was taking hypnobirthing classes and I was going to try for an unmedicated birth, everybody was like, "Oh, cute girl, you'll have an epidural. Good luck with that unmedicated birth." It was infuriating. It's like nobody believed that I could have an unmedicated birth, and while women that had unmedicated births used to be like unicorns, birth norms are changing and more women are having unmedicated births. It happens all the time. Almost every birth that I've attended did not involve medication. Some did, and they were just as beautiful as the other ones, but I have seen numerous unmedicated births. I had an unmedicated birth. It was incredibly hard. Maybe I should have gotten an epidural, but I did it. It is absolutely possible. But the key with an unmedicated birth, first and foremost, is that you have to want it. If your partner really wants it, great for he or she, but if you don't want it, then you shouldn't try for one. If your mom wants you to have one or your care provider wants you to have one, but you're not really feeling it, you don't need to try for it. It is absolutely fine to not want an unmedicated birth, to be like, you know what? I've read up about epidurals. I feel good about epidurals. I want an epidural. Or if for whatever reason, maybe babies breech, or you have a circumstance that maybe makes a cesarean birth feel like the best choice for you, there's no shame in that either. So before I move forward in this, if you are interested in having an unmedicated birth, I just want you to check in and see, is this desire stemming from myself, or is it coming from this desire to please somebody else? Figure out where the desire is coming from. But once you figure out that you're the one that wants the unmedicated birth, then great. One of the best ways that you can get that is to prepare. I had a client named Stella, and she was like 27, I think, when she first got pregnant. And according to her, I wasn't working with her for this first birth. She just felt like, you know what? I don't need to prepare. Like, I'm good to go. I'm just going to wing it. I'm going to wing my unmedicated birth. She ended up getting an epidural, which is nothing wrong with that. Maybe she would have ended up with an epidural regardless of how much preparation she put in. But when she got pregnant again in her mid-30s, she took my class. She read a ton of books. I think she took my online course too. She just like totally dove in with preparation. She's like, I felt incredibly unprepared the first time around. I'm doing the opposite now. I'm going to prepare. Right before she gave birth to her baby, she told me, I still really want that unmedicated birth, but she's like, I think that even if I don't get it, I'll still feel satisfied because all of the preparation I did made me feel like I've done everything I possibly could to have an unmedicated birth. She said it made her feel really empowered, really confident. So she's like, I'm going into birth with this solid sense of self, this confidence, and this confidence not only in herself, but that she'll have the type of birth that she's meant to have. And she said, I'm no longer attached to what that needs to be. I feel more open, which she said was very strange. She's like, when I started all the preparation, it was like, this is for my unmedicated birth. But by the end of all the preparation, she's like, yeah, I still want it, but I'm cool with whatever. And she did end up having her unmedicated birth, but I really believe her when she said she would have been fine with whatever. And that's something important to understand when you are preparing for an unmedicated birth, to know that there's no guarantee that it'll happen. There's also absolutely no guarantee that you'll get an epidural. Again, unmedicated births happen all the time, but to not put this like intense pressure on yourself to think like, I will only think of my birth as a success if I have an unmedicated birth. Beautiful births run the spectrum from unmedicated to a cesarean birth. So I don't want you to put that intense pressure on yourself. So what I do suggest you do is, number one, find a really amazing childbirth preparation course that you really jive with. Maybe you take a couple of them. Some of my favorites are hypnobirthing, birthing from within. There's plenty of other amazing ones, but those are my top two. I also have an online childbirth preparation course. I'll put the link in the comments below. If I forget, tell me in the comments. So find a class that you really connect with, and then really commit to practicing the techniques that you learn in it, or at least the techniques that you really resonate with. And because so many of the blocks, strangely, between you and an unmedicated birth are mental, you would think it's all physical, but a lot of it is mental. Not to say that it doesn't hurt like hell sometimes when you're having an unmedicated birth, but really focusing on those mental, emotional techniques, really looking at any fears you have around childbirth and how to let those go, how to really hone that mind-body connection before you go into birth. So again, the hypnobirthing, birthing from within, these are both classes that really nurture that connection, that provide you amazing tools for fear release, for relaxation, and of course, they all provide really amazing tools for pain relief, very like tangible tools that you will use during an unmedicated birth. So again, to seek all that information and then really put it into practice before you go into birth. And then it'll make all those techniques more second nature when you're birthing the baby. All right, and I already mentioned this a little bit, but after you've like put in all that preparation, you're regularly practicing and you go into labor, in some ways I recommend just like letting it go. Trusting that any of the techniques that you need to use will come to you, trusting that your birth will unfold in the way that it's meant to, especially if you're feeling empowered, you're making choices that feel good for you, you're not being railroaded by a medical care provider, you're going to have the birth that you're meant to have. And maybe that looks like an unmedicated birth. If it is, great. But again, if that ends up looking like Pitocin and an epidural or even a C-section, it in no way means that preparation was for nothing. That preparation, in my mind, is more to help you have an empowered, peaceful, beautiful birth experience. And like I said before, that can look like anything. So I hope that helps. If you have any other questions about unmedicated birth, epidurals, I'm going to be posting a lot of videos about epidurals and Pitocin on here. Let me know in the comments below.